Before we get into today's mailbag, make sure you guys share today's video for me on social media if you haven't done so already. Any platform in which you desire. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, you name it, it works for us. We're just trying to get the word out there to more Bengals fans that aren't necessarily tapped in to what we're doing here at Bengals Breakdown. So help me out. Share today's video for me right now. All right, here we go. First question from Tim Tyra. He says, do you think right now, as the defense sits, the Bengals are a playoff team? This is a great question, and I really love the honesty from Tim Tyra here in this situation as well, to sit there and just not assume that Cincinnati is a playoff team. It's a good question, and I would say right now, no, because you're in a spot right now where you basically are running it back with the same defense that you have. Yeah, it was great you brought in Oren Burks, right? Yeah, it was great you brought in T.J. Slayton, who I am a big fan of, and I think really is going to help boost your interior defensive line. I think he's certainly better than Sheldon Rankins, but I don't know if you have done enough and at that spot in order to get into the playoffs. Now, I will say that I am really fired up about Al Golden. Love Lou Anarumo. Love what he did for this team, this organization. But I think the defense is going to play better under Al Golden, so I think that is improvement there in itself. You're obviously going to draft some guys on that defensive side of the football, and you're hoping that guys in bigger roles can step up, right? Looks like Joseph Osai is going to be asked to do more. Hopefully, Myles Murphy can develop a little bit as well. He was a first-round pick, after all, a couple of years ago. So right now, I would say no, but with the new coaching, right, guys having different opportunities to have different roles, and obviously you're going to draft as well. I think by the time we line it up week one, they will be, but right now I'm definitely a little bit skeptical about that. William House, what do you think, Starks or Emmanwori? It's a great question. Really is a great question. Really, if both those guys are there and Cincinnati picks one over the other, I'm probably not going to have an issue. I prefer Malaki Starks if you're making me pick. But shoot, if the Bengals got Nick Emmanwori out of South Carolina, I would love that pick as well. He is a big guy for a safety. He can fly around. He is a great tackler. He can lay the boom on guys as well. Had an incredible career out of South Carolina, and obviously I think the world of Malaki Starks as well. I think both guys come in, start immediately, impact your football team positively immediately, and really can do a great job of getting guys on the ground. That's why you lost so many games early on. There's several reasons, of course, but you couldn't tackle. Got to get cleaned up earlier in the year, and I think both these guys would be great picks at 17 overall, and I very much would consider a safety at number 17 overall if I am the Cincinnati Bengals, if it is either Starks or Emmanwori. Stanley, will Joe Burrow be the best quarterback in the NFL next year? You guys know what I think on this by now. Yes, I think that. I think last year he was playing better than anybody in the NFL, and I think before 2024 it was okay, he's probably second best to Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, he's had the one-on-one success against Patrick Mahomes, but I still had him at that 2 spot. But the way he played last year was unbelievable. The things that he is able to overcome is what makes him so elite. The fact he got that team to the Super Bowl in 21 is incredible behind that offensive line. He constantly, consistently rises above things that get in his way, the obstacles that get in his way, and he just gets better and better and better. The expectation for me is that he will be the best quarterback in the NFL in 2025, and look, we're going to be hard on him, right? Because that, if he's not that, we're going to critique him for that, especially after, he went out there and said the things that he said about, wanting to pay Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, which I completely agree with. But he's got to go out there and back it up on the football field, and I have all the faith in the world that he will, and I have got him personally in that number 1 spot. Your turn. Rank Joe Burrow among NFL quarterbacks. Let me know in the comment section of today's show, 1 to 32. Let me know what you guys think. Be honest with me. I'm being honest, right? I know I'm the host of Bengals Breakdown, so obviously I've got him high, but I was honest there with that number 1 overall selection. Let me know what you guys think right now. Sean, do you believe that Dax Hill will come back and play at the level he was before he tore his ACL? Good question here from Sean. I've kind of been nitpicky on some of the guys that the Bengals have drafted early on, and I don't love getting all the Michigan guys, what have you. But Dax Hill, I was really fired up when they took him, and I really thought he was coming on strong this past season for the Cincinnati Bengals. You heard Duke Tobin talk about it at the NFL Scouting Combine, saying that he really was going to pop off if he did not get hurt. And that really was kind of where he was trending, right, with his performance out there on the football field before he suffered that injury. Obviously, it's an ACL. It's a very serious injury. You never know exactly how, guys are going to come back from that. And obviously, it's a cornerback spot. He's going to have to be running really, really fast. He's going to be at the running backwards, flipping his hips, all that stuff. Is he still going to be able to do that post-torn ACL? I am not sure, but I can promise you if he can get back to where he was the week before he got hurt, Cincinnati will absolutely love where they are at with that, and he will continue to get better and better and better. I really like Dax Hill, and really, I've said this a couple of times here on the show, you might make the playoffs if Dax Hill plays the entire year. I am that high on Dax Hill, and hopefully he can get back to that form. We'll continue with our show here in a minute, but first, got to give a shout-out to our friends over at Game Time, as today's show is presented by Game Time. Game Time makes getting tickets for live events even easier and faster. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to the first pitch or the start of the event. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. Last-minute deals. Save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. Zone deals. Save even more when you choose a section and let Game Time choose the seats for you. Also love the all-in pricing. Toggling this feature up front allows you to see your total up front so you don't get hit with any of those surprise fees at checkout. Also love the seat views. Get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy with Game Time. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. But again, create an account, redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets. Lowest prices, all guaranteed. Super chat here from Christian Wolf. We appreciate that, Christian. He said Walter Nolen at 17 to be a good pick. I appreciate the super chat there, Christian, but I don't think that would be a good move for Cincinnati at this spot. I don't think he's a first-round guy, to be completely honest with you. Obviously, he went out there at the Senior Bowl and he did some good things, got some people talking about him. I know Cincinnati has met with him, what have you, in the past, but 17, it feels like a bit of a stretch for me. Again, you don't want to draft the position. You want to draft the player. I'm not just saying that because I don't want to DT as my first pick in this draft, but I think there are going to be better options for you at number 17 overall. And again, I think a guy like Walter Nolen will be available later. Now, if you want to trade back to 28 and then take him there, we can have that conversation a little bit more. But I think at 17 seems like too much of a reach for me at this point. William House, what do you think about Tate Ratledge in the second? Guard from Georgia. I am a big Tate Ratledge guy. We've done some mock drafts here, and, when I'm sitting there picking a lineman, I definitely have thought about taking him in the past. I think he's a real gutsy dude, showed some great stuff at Georgia. I think he's going to have a great career in the NFL, would not have any issues with Tate Ratledge being drafted by the Cincinnati Bengals in this draft. Freddie, will Cam Taylor-Britt bounce back? Good question from Freddie. I think a lot of us kind of assumed him to kind of be that cornerback one and really come in and be a lockdown guy in the league. And obviously last year was the worst year of his career to this point. Found himself getting benched several times along the journey as well. And a lot of mental mistakes as well. And you hear stuff around town about, he likes going out to the bars downtown, likes going out to the clubs here in the fine city of Cincinnati. Probably not what you want, especially when you're not producing out there on the football field at the level in which the Bengals expect from being a high draft pick for them. I don't know. We will see. I'm hoping the new leadership defensively will help him with Al Golden. Hopefully he can utilize the best schemes that make things work the best for him. He creates some great plays, right? Like the interception in week 2 against Kansas City is awesome. And he has several times where he'll just absolutely pop somebody, get everybody fired up. That's great to see as well. But if he can limit the mental mistakes, I think he has the talent to bounce back. Just a matter if he gets in the playbook, understands that, hey, I can't be making these kinds of mistakes at this point in my career, and ultimately decides to get better. He's going to be there, right? They're not going to cut him, so we'll see. I'm rooting for him, and hopefully he can turn things around. What's your confidence level in Cam Taylor-Britt? Let me know in the comment section of today's show. Scale it for me. 1 on the low end, 10 on the high end. Evan Anderson. Do you think we run with the same cornerback room? That's the thing, man. It feels like it, which I think is a mistake, right? Here's kind of my perspective. I don't think Cincinnati should go out there necessarily and draft one. Excuse me, because you've drafted, you got a lot of youth in that room, right? And you might not be the best at drafting corners, right? Think about when you took Dax Hill. You weren't even drafting a corner at that point. You were drafting a safety. So, I don't know. I just think I really wanted them to bring in a veteran. They haven't done that yet. There's still time, by the way, for them to do that. But I think, that really was a weak point on this football team. Obviously, you're hoping DJ Turner and Dax Hill can come back and be really good for you. But it feels like they kind of are, and I definitely think that's a bit of a mistake. William House, do you think the Bengals will pick up anyone in free agency before the draft? Well, they did today when we were filming this, getting that linebacker from the Jaguars and the Patriots, helping them out on the defensive side of the football. And I was kind of surprised that they did that, to be honest with you. I thought they kind of would just, run it back with the guys that, they had and not bring any more guys in to their defense. Joe Giles Harris was the guy I was trying to think of that was slipping out of my mind. Joe Giles Harris is the guy they signed earlier today as of filming. And I was surprised that they kind of made that move. Lucas Patrick kind of felt like the last guy that they were going to do, but they brought in a guy like Joe Giles Harris. We'll see. It didn't sound like they're going to address the offensive line before the draft per Zach Taylor, but maybe they'll bring in another guy on defense. If you're enjoying this mailbag, you are in luck. We will continue to have more of them for you here at Bengals Breakdown. Always love when you guys get interactive, get your questions in with hashtag Bengals. We appreciate all you guys. Make sure you hit that sub button if you haven't done so already. Sean, how you feeling about the Trey Hendrickson situation, and do you think that he will still be a Bengal at the start of the year? A couple weeks ago it was, I feel fine. He'll definitely be here. And then he goes on the McAfee show, which is a mistake, going on there and saying what he said. The Bengals have shown as an organization in the past, if you go at them from a public perspective like that, they're going to dig their feet in. So I don't know. Look, the biggest mistake he made was signing that 1-year extension, right? If you wanted, it to be over a longer period of time, you shouldn't have signed the 1-year extension. And, I feel like him and his agent have made mistake after mistake after mistake in the offseason. But obviously the play out there on the football field is incredible. Right now, I think he will be with Cincinnati to start the year. I don't think they're going to trade him. But are they going to get a new deal for him? I don't know. And then would he ultimately sit out and miss games? I guess that is becoming more and more of a possibility. But I'll say yes still for now, and I would lean on the optimistic side and say that Hendrickson and the Bengals are going to figure something out.